Now when it comes to budget IEMs or entry-level IEMs, I'm talking about IEMs under $20 in price tag, there's only a few that comes to mind that are worth grabbing. For example, the Moondrop Chu, the 7Hz Zero, and also the CCA CRA. All those three IEMs perform just as well as some $50 plus IEMs out there. And in today's video, I'm happy to announce one more IEM that's joining that Hall of Fame. The Tangsu 1R. Hey friends, Tim here, welcome back to another video on Giz Audio, and today we're talking about the Tangsu new 1R or 1R. I'm trying my best to pronounce this correctly, but you know, one of those two is probably really close. But yes, $20 IEM. If you catch it on 11/11, you probably got it for $16.99 or something like that. Very affordable, super entry-level IEM, and the tuning of this, like I said again, it is just as good, if not slightly better in some ways to the previous three that I talked about, the Chu, the Zero, and the CRA. Now let's first talk about the overall sound signature. The Tangsu 1R is tuned quite balanced, neutral. It has a decent amount of bass as well as a good focus on the upper mid-range, so vocals do feel forward and they pop out of the background, while at the same time you get the thumps and slam that you want from the bass. Now it's not by any means a bass cannon, a bass lover's IEM. It just has just enough mid bass to be satisfying. It doesn't really feel like it lacks in that department, if you will. Now in the treble area is what I would say is probably the most impressive area of the 1R. The treble actually sounds smooth, and with a smooth treble you tend to get a more natural and smooth sounding timbre at the same time. So what that means is that vocals and instruments sounds more realistic, sound more natural. There's lack of weird treble peaks, if you will. There's no fatiguingness to be found. Everything just sounds correct is the best way to put it. Needless to say, it is a fantastically tuned IEM, especially for the price. Now, I know some reviewer, namely this guy, said that you don't need to pay for tuning, and with the newer releases that came out on the market nowadays, I wholeheartedly agree. The Tangsu, the 7Hz Zero, the Moondrop Chu, the CCA CRA, those four are a great example of fantastic tuning achieved at the lowest of low price points. So why do you ask that we need to spend more than $20 on IEMs? Why isn't $20 enough when you already get fantastic tuning? And the answer to that question is details. Imaging, soundstage, all those fluffy words that makes up the technical performance. And speaking of which, the 1R performs just as well as the other IEMs that I mentioned in this video so far. The technical performance or the detail level of the 1R is just alright. Yeah, it sits firmly under $50 for me. It's just alright. It's not gonna beat any $100 or good $100 sets out there. It's not bad, it's not great, it's just, again, average. Next, let's move on to comparison. The first comparison is the 7Hz Zero. Now, with the 7Hz Zero, that one is also tuned in a neutral fashion, you can say, similar to the 1R, but the vocal placement or the Pina gain of the 7Hz Zero is a little bit more delayed, giving it a more laid back and less in-your-face type of vocal experience than the 1R. The mid bass on the Zero is also a little bit less than the 1R, so you do feel a little less fullness, but in trade-off, it does sound cleaner than the 1R, while the 1R sounds just a touch more punchier and more full. Treble-wise, I find both to be rather smooth, but 1R to be smoother, though it doesn't have as much energy as the Zero. The Zero is noticeably sparklier, if you will, but not as smooth and as natural sounding in the timbre to the 1R. In terms of which one is definitively better, neither one of them are better than each other. I feel like they're side grades, just different flavors of somewhat similar tuning. If you want a more forward vocals, you want meatier feeling bass and still overall a balanced signature, then you would go for the 1R. But if you want something that is extra clean, then you go with the 7Hz Zero. If you were to ask me though, if I were to keep one and throw one away, I think it's the 1R. I always had a little bit of an issue with the 7Hz Zero's lack of mid-bass, and the 1R though doesn't have that much more mid-bass. It does have more, you do feel it. And also, I'm more of a vocal guy, and the vocal being more forward on the 1R suits me more. Now, if you're not a vocal person, doesn't pertain to you of course, but if your taste is similar to mine, I recommend the 1R. Next comparison, we have the Moondrop Chu. Now the Chu has the most energetic feeling upper mid-range, hence also energetic, timbre, and kind of grainy at the same time. So not the most natural sounding in comparison to the Zero and the 1R, but it is the most energetic, and female vocals comes across the most lively. The bass is similar to the Zero's profile, so it does have less mid-bass feeling than the 1R. Detail level again is similar to the other two. Just again, a side grade, another different flavor of a similar style of tuning. If you want energetic female vocals, the Chu is the choice for you. If not, then the other two. And last but not least, the CCA CRA, yes, the V-shape IM. Now this is probably the most different than the other three IMs I just talked about. This thing has bass, this thing has treble, the timbre is a little bit on the peaky side, so you do get some fatiguiness from the treble area, if you will. It's not the most smoothest sounding timbre out there, but you do get the fun of it being a V-shaped signature, so a lot of bass and a lot of sparkle at the same time. Mid-range is not going to be the best. If you want mid-range, if you're a vocal person, you go for the other three options. If you want the most fun out of your IEM and still retain good tuning or good balance, then you would go for the CCA CRA. It's basically kind of the only choice under $20 for a well-tuned V-shape IM. So yeah, it sits in its own lane, special, apart from the other three that we just talked about. Alright, that's it for this review today. Thank you so much for watching. The 1R gets a big green thumbs up. Easy buy at $20. Just fantastic IM through and through. Nothing I can really fault about it for the price. Just great. Special thanks now to my patrons, my one and only patron so far, Kai. Thank you so much for believing in me and giving me your support. Your name is the first on the list, and yeah, thank you so much. And for the rest of you, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in another video. Peace out. Bye.